You wake up naturally when your body decides it's time. No alarm clock, no timetable, nowhere you absolutely need to go. You sit up, stretch your arms, and ask yourself a simple question. What should I do today? For almost all of human history, this wasn't just an idea to think about. It was the reality people faced every morning for nearly 300,000 years. And the answer looked completely different from the life you're living today. The average modern person spends around 90,000 hours working during their lifetime. That's about 1/3 of all your waking hours devoted to a job. But for most of human history, jobs weren't even a thing. There was no employment, no paycheck, no manager, and no career path to climb. So, what exactly filled people's days? Let's begin with what we know for sure. In 1963, archaeologist Richard Lee carried out a study that would completely reshape our understanding of prehistoric life. He observed the daily routines of the Dhobi-Ju-Hwansi people in Botswana, one of the few surviving groups whose lifestyle closely resembles life before agriculture. He discovered that adults spent only about 2.5 days each week finding food. That's roughly 17 hours. The rest of their time was theirs to spend however they liked. And here's what matters most. Researchers keep seeing the same pattern everywhere they look. The Hadza of Tanzania, the Ake of Paraguay, the Martu of Australia. Different landscapes, different regions of the world. Same conclusion. Around 15 to 20 hours each week dedicated to survival tasks. For comparison, you probably work about double that. Now, some people might be wondering, but those are modern populations. How can we know ancient humans live like that too? That's a fair question, and the answer is hidden in their bones. When archaeologists compare ancient human skeletons with those of early farming communities, the contrast is striking. Farmers were shorter. Their bones reveal signs of poor nutrition. Their teeth were full of cavities caused by grain-heavy diets. They suffered arthritis in their spines from repetitive work, and they had shorter lifespans. Ancient human skeletons? Taller, stronger, better teeth, less wear on their joints. Their bones tell a very clear story. They weren't doing more repetitive labor. They were doing less. But the most remarkable evidence comes from something archaeologists discovered that shouldn't exist if survival was truly a non-stop struggle. In 1994, explorers uncovered Chauvet Cave in southern France. Inside were paintings made around 30,000 years ago. Horses, lions, rhinoceroses. Drawn with depth, shading, and a sense of movement. These weren't simple stick drawings. This was advanced artwork that demanded skill, preparation, and most importantly, time. Someone spent hours, maybe even days, deep inside a cave lit only by fire, painting animals across a wall, not to survive, not to get food, for beauty, for meaning, for something worth doing. In Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists uncovered perforated shell beads dating back 100,000 years. Tiny holes carefully drilled through seashells, clearly intended to be worn as jewelry. The nearest coastline was 20 kilometers away. Someone walked 40 kilometers there and back just to collect shells, then spent hours patiently drilling holes with stone tools. Just to look good. In 2008, researchers discovered a 40,000-year-old flute carved from a vulture bone in Germany. 5 finger holes, precisely positioned. Whoever crafted it understood music. They understood pitch, and they invested serious time making it. Not for hunting, not for protection, for music. These discoveries aren't rare exceptions. Throughout Europe, Africa, and Asia, archaeological sites dating back 100,000 years and beyond are packed with evidence of decorative objects. Carefully made tools that were far more detailed than survival required, and items that demanded hours of focused effort with no immediate practical purpose. This is what people did when food wasn't the priority. They created. They decorated. They made the world around them beautiful. So let's imagine a typical day. You wake up at dawn. The fire from the night before is still glowing. Someone throws on more wood. You eat leftover fish or meat from yesterday. Maybe some berries or nuts gathered the previous day. Breakfast is a social event. N. People talk. They casually discuss the day ahead. Not because they must, because that's simply what humans do. By mid-morning, a small group may head out to hunt or gather. But here's the important part. You don't need to go every day. If a hunt succeeded 2 days earlier and there's still food available, you might never leave camp at all. You might spend the morning making tools, sharpening a spear, weaving a basket, softening an animal hide until it's useful and comfortable. This isn't work in the modern sense. There's no schedule, no boss. You do it because skill matters, because being capable earns respect, because creating things well is part of being human. And if a hunt takes place, it's nothing like the frantic chases shown in movies. And humans are persistence hunters. We follow animals at a steady pace for hours until they become exhausted and collapse. We're the only species that can reliably do this because we sweat and control our body temperature while running. Most animals can't, which lets us outlast them. The hunt may last 3 to 6 hours, including the travel. N. The animal is brought back and prepared. Everyone eats. And by early afternoon, the productive part of the day is mostly finished. What comes next is the part modern people struggle to understand most. Nothing. And everything. The people relax. They sit together in the shade and talk. They spend time with children. They groom one another, picking through hair, strengthening relationships. They make jewelry from shells, beads, or animal teeth. They carve patterns into bone and stone. They nap. Anthropologist James Sussman found that among the Juhuansi, adults spend around 6 hours every day in what he called social time. Not working, not sleeping, and simply spending time with others. Talking, laughing, sharing jokes. Because in a world without money, police, or written contracts, your survival depends completely on your relationships. If people dislike you, they don't have to share food when you're in need. So people invested huge amounts of time in those connections. Not because it was productive, because that's how humans remain human. Then evening arrives, and that's when something extraordinary happens. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied hundreds of hours of recorded conversations from the Juhuansi. During daylight hours, discussions were practical. Who spotted animal tracks? Which plants were ready to gather? Complaints about someone not sharing fairly. But after dark, around the fire, 81% of conversations turned into stories. Myths explaining how the world began. Stories about ancestors who achieved impossible feats. Jokes that had everyone laughing. Tales from distant places. Wiesner argued that this is where human culture truly emerged. Insight, spirits, the past, and the future. Ideas you can only explore when you're fed and safe. And people didn't sleep through the night the way most of us do now. Historical records from medieval Europe and sleep studies from the 1990s show that before artificial lighting, humans slept in 2 stages. And first sleep lasted about 4 hours. Then came 1 to 2 hours awake in total darkness. After that came a second 4-hour sleep. So this is what a full day looked like. And most people have no idea what was lost because they never knew it existed.